Let's go make a killing.
All right.
Welcome to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
10 to the 5 to the 4, play one, touchdown!
The sharpest football contest show in the land.
I'll take the action. My Birds, Benjamin Franklin's team, favored by 1.5 points. I'll give you 3 more.
You're now riding shotgun with 2 former contest winners in Brady, Kannon and James Salinas. And getting a former player's perspective with 9-year NFL veteran Mike Pritchard.
Let's go!
As they guide you through strategy, process, and your contest picks each and every week of the season.
I do like the idea of a parlay.
Now here's your host, Brady Kannon.
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome back to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas SuperBook. I am Brady Kannon, along with Mike Pritchard and James Salinas. It is Season 2, Episode 5, Week 2 of the NFL season. Let's do a little cleanup here as far as Circa Survivor, one of the most successful weeks in the history of the contest. Started out with 18,718 entries. Only 573 were eliminated in week 1. Our 3 cards all made it through. We have survived and advanced on to week 2. Grandissimo, no carnage there at all. 69 out of 69 survive and advance in Circa Grandissimo. And in Super Survivor over at the SuperBook, all 111 entries remain intact for week 2. Also, SuperContest College, one of our friends, Tommy Lorenzo, Cover the Weekend, is in second place currently with a record of 11-3. Gentlemen, welcome into week 2 of the NFL season. Boy, what a week it was in contest play. We didn't do that great. We were 2-3, but I tell you what, we leapfrogged a lot of people. The consensus in both contests, 0-5. My goodness, what an auspicious start to the season here in the Circa Million and the Westgate SuperContest. Let's see if we can do that much better than the majority once again here this week. Guys, let's dive right in. The first game I'm looking at on the card will take place in Cincinnati. The Bengals narrowly escaping victory there with the Cleveland Browns in week 1. This week, they will host the Jacksonville Jaguars, who come in off of a win over the Carolina Panthers. And this line over the summertime was Cincinnati favored by 6.5. That has dropped. And even the opener this week, it opened like 4 or 5, depending on where you look. Currently in the contest and in the live market, Mike, we're at Jaguars getting 3.5 points on the road.
Intriguing matchup, to say the least, guys. And I think when you look at this matchup, you look at the Jaguars. I got some questions for you guys in a minute, but new head coach situation right there, and they're excited about Hunter. Certainly drafting a Heisman Trophy guy, and it's impactful selling jerseys and everything like that. But there's some juice out there in Jacksonville, and you think about Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback and what he has to evolve into and what he has to turn into for that franchise. That is something I'm keeping an eye on for sure. But ATN, I mean, as a running back, and certainly what he did in that matchup against Carolina was very, very impressive. He reminds me so much. I don't know if you guys get this impression of him. He reminds me so much of like a Marshall Faulk type. He's not Marshall Faulk, but he reminds me of him in terms of his versatility and what he can do out there, and certainly running the football and being a tough runner as well. But I was impressed with them as they open up week 1, and now you got to go against Cincinnati. And we were talking about this before this matchup. We go back a few years, and that was a nice matchup when you think about the Jags and Cincinnati. And last time they were out, I think it was a field goal that separated these two teams. So we got that situation again, and I like the Jags. I mean, the Jags showed me with a new head coach, a new philosophy, and a little bit of their identity. And what I mean by that is I break down play selection big time. And again, when you're coasting and when everything's working, 9 times out of 10, if you can get that run pass ratio skewed more towards the run, then you're going to be highly successful, because that just opens up your playbook, right? I mean, think about teams that are skewed the other way, where they have to throw it almost 70% of the time. They are scrambling. They're looking for answers. And I think when we look at Jacksonville and the fact that they ran the ball about 54% of their play selection, I mean, that was comfort. So they can take that on the road that keeps Cincinnati's offense on the sideline a little bit longer. But my question to you guys, what did you see? Because last week was a great unknown for me. What did you guys see going into week 1 with Jacksonville that had them landing on our card?
Pritch, I think the lack of dysfunction. This team looked like they actually had a game plan coming into this matchup last week with the Carolina Panthers, and the game plan was to rush the football. It wasn't to put it all on Trevor Lawrence, to have to go make all the plays through the air. You talked about the rushing game and the how weighted it was to the team running the football more than throwing the football. Now you can do that when you have a 20-3 lead and you're trying to salt the game away in the second half. But I think that was the game plan going in. It was very structured. And so it looked like from previous coaches' regime, we know that's been a bad football team for a long time. They literally looked like on both sides of the football too, not just the offensive side, but as well as the defensive side. There's a lot of talent there. They've been such a bad team for so long. They've had a lot of high draft picks, and they really put those guys on both sides of the football in a position to be successful and to play to their strengths. And we saw that from the rushing game in particular with Travis Etienne. Now, he only had half the carries. They had 7 guys that got a touch rushing the football. So they were very creative with their ability to go and run. And I think that's definitely an advantage playing at home in Jacksonville, in Florida, with the heat and humidity early in the season. Brady, that was part of our handicap last week, not only taking them to cover the number, but also using them as a survivor entry.
Yeah, my first impression of Liam Cohen is a very good one. We know how successful he was as a coordinator at the Tampa Bay side with Baker Mayfield there. But James, I think you bring it up, the structure, the game plan. I think that speaks to what I'm talking about, that Cohen has been impressive. That comes with good coaching and a good organization and players that are all buying in. I thought, Travis Hunter had all kinds of enthusiasm, and everybody looked like they were having fun out there, which we haven't necessarily seen in Jacksonville for a long time. In Cincinnati, basically what I thought they were going to be, very unimpressive, I thought, in just, again, barely getting a victory over the Cleveland Browns in week 1. Guys, let's move on here and talk about the Dallas Cowboys, their home opener, hosting another division rival. They lose, of course, in week 1 to the Philadelphia Eagles. They will welcome the New York Giants to town. It is 5.5. The Cowboys favored by 5.5 in the Circa Million, and getting 6, or the Cowboys are laying 6 in the SuperContest. I thought the Cowboys were very impressive in week 1. Not so much for the Giants in their loss to the Washington Commanders, Mike.
Yeah, Brady. I mean, this is an important game for Dallas. I mean, week 1, very impressive, like you mentioned. A little bit longer rest, a little bit longer film study too from this football team. Uncharacteristic that CeeDee Lamb dropped the passes that he did. But Dak Prescott, this is a guy that I hype up all the time in terms of the regular season because I think from a starting quarterback standpoint, he averages double digits ever since he's been in the league. So I think Dallas cleans it up a little bit more. I think CeeDee Lamb makes more plays. I think George Pickens makes some plays too. And certainly the running game's coming along with that new offensive line. But I'm a little concerned about defensively, a little bit about Dallas. But I think as they get more in tune with Eberflus and certainly try to do what he wants to coach out there, and that's take away the football, that could help them. And being at home now, against the Giants, they cannot go 0-2, guys, within their division and think that they can still have a successful year. So this is an important game for Dallas.
Fellas, I think Pritch, you mentioned it about the concerns on the defensive side, and there's been concerns on the defensive side for years with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
However, we got to go week to week in this matchup here with the Giants. What is it about the Giants that would have pause for concern to say, well, this is the week that Russ finally decides to start cooking? I mean, we know in a sense it's unfortunate. He's had a great career, but Russ is cooked. To that matter, he does not want to throw the football down the field. He is not comfortable. He hasn't been comfortable in the pocket for a number of years. Just think about his brief tenure here with the Denver Broncos. This is, to me, there's no play on the Giants whatsoever. This is a team definitely going south. Daboll, we'll see if he's able to survive the rest of the season. I kind of don't think so. It's Jackson Dart just waiting in the wings. It's a matter of how soon do we see the rookie behind center for the New York Giants.
Yeah, Jackson Dart waiting in the wings for sure. We'll see how soon he comes to the forefront there. The Giants only putting up 6 points on the board in week 1. We will come back and continue to dive into more games from an against the spread perspective. And then when we get to the bottom of the hour, we dive into Circa Survivor and SuperContest Survivor right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Want to enter the biggest and best football contests in Las Vegas? Look no further than footballcontest.com to get the info you need to succeed. Covering Circa Million, Circa Survivor, Grandissimo, and every super contest at the Westgate SuperBook. Reserve the most trusted proxy service in the business now at footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have been leaders in the industry for 20 years. They submit your picks while you focus on picking winners. Experience matters. Go with the pros at footballcontest.com and start winning now.
Looking for your next ultimate golf experience? Discover Bali High Golf Club, a tropical paradise on the Las Vegas Strip, featuring lush greenery, water features, Balinese tropical plants, white sand, and black volcanic rock, creating an enchanting atmosphere. Bali High creates a memorable golf experience for a typical foursome, a group celebrating a bachelor or bachelorette party, or your next corporate outing. It's award-winning golf on the Strip, Vegas style. Book your ultimate golf experience now at BaliHighGolfClub.com.
It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas SuperBook. Brady, Kannon, Mike Pritchard, and James Salinas with you going through the Week 2 card in the NFL. The against the spread portion of the program. We'll get to Circa Survivor and SuperContest Survivor here momentarily. Very little carnage in Week 1 in Survivor contests around the country. All right, guys, the Rams go on the road to visit the Titans. The Titans, pretty impressive, hung around for a long time against the Denver Broncos. Many Survivor people on the Broncos got scared for a minute there. And the Rams, we were on Los Angeles in Survivor and against the spread. Both of those came through. They look good at home in their win over the Houston Texans. What do you think about Week 2 and the Rams and the Titans, James?
I think Brady and Pritch, fellas, this was last week. That was my best bet on the board. I really liked the Rams last week. And it was the matchup in particular with that defensive front for the Rams going up against a really beat up and decimated offensive line for the Houston Texans, as well as not having the heart and soul of that offense out there on the field in Joe Mixon, and really came to form. I didn't know how they were going to score. They really didn't score. Fairbairn was their best offensive player last week. He's a terrific kicker as well. But thinking about where the Rams are this week, I mean, they're a little banged up on the offensive line going into this matchup against Tennessee. And what we saw out of Tennessee, yeah, you're going to have a lot of growing pains with Cam Ward, but it seemed more so from Ward throwing fastballs. His receivers weren't quite ready to receive those fastballs he was getting here in the Mile High City against the Denver Broncos defense. But it was more so the growing pains of the coaching staff, not knowing the rules, not knowing when to throw the challenge flag. They really didn't help Cam Ward in that matchup against Denver. A lot of times turning his back to the defense. That defense could care less whether they were trying to rush the football where the Tennessee Titans or not. It was straight beeline to that quarterback. Did not do him any favors, putting him in the positions that they did. So really shaky coaching staff for that offensive side for the Titans in this matchup here. I think for the Rams, it's just a matter of the focus. I think for Week 2 in the NFL, not trying to be reactive and say, oh, you're never as great as you looked in Week 1, and you're never quite as bad as you looked in Week 2. And I don't want to get on that boat to say, well, this is going to be just a whitewash for the Rams. I don't want to play the Titans in this spot, but I don't want to lay this number on the road with the Rams. Not that they're not fully capable, because they are. I really like this team. I like them coming into last week and coming into the season. But I just look at who they have on deck next week, and they're going to be playing the Philadelphia Eagles, world champ Philadelphia Eagles. And we know what a competitive game that was last year in the playoffs, Pritch. And I know it's so early to say, well, are they looking ahead? I'm not saying necessarily that the Rams are looking ahead. It just feels like a bad scheduling spot going on the road against a lowly Titans team with a Rams team just itching to get back and have a little redemption from last year's playoff loss to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right. And home openers too are always tricky too, I think, for the other team. And the Titans to me are in a prove it situation from a coaching staff, like you mentioned, and certainly Cam Ward as well. And the Rams we know that they're well coached. That's a good football team. I'll put that out there right now. That's a really good football team. The only question as they evolve into a team that should make a run in the playoffs is the health of the quarterback, right? And I think, we'll find that out. Matt, this guy Stafford, he has been a tough hombre for a long time, but he's dealing with something that really is debilitating. So we'll see what happens. But I agree. It's a tough game just because of the travel, the spot, the matchup, and then certainly still waiting for that team. And talking about the Rams to fully develop Brady, and that's a lot of points to lay on the road against a team in their home opener with a new quarterback.
Yeah, like James says, it was a great victory for us and the Rams in week 1. Now, I don't want to just, rush to conclusion here and say, oh, they're going to kill the Titans. No, I'm with you guys. I kind of like the next one on the board, and that is the Buffalo Bills visiting the New York Jets. The Jets really impressed me. I mean, was that the best game we've seen Justin Fields and the New York Jets play in the last 3 years? Pretty good. They were very impressive. Hats off to Aaron Glenn and his head coaching debut. Great job there. They gave the Steelers everything they wanted, nearly won the game. And the Bills, I mean, gosh, what a absolutely stunning game on Sunday night. The comeback over the Ravens. Now, how do they get back up off the mat and try and produce that type of effort again? They got to be feeling a little fat and happy. Now they go on the road in a division game and they're laying nearly a touchdown, James. I kind of like the Jets with the points here.
I like the Jets with the number as well. And again, it comes down to week matchups. And we saw a team in the New York Jets committed to being physical up front and rushing the football. And that's exactly that's not the matchup the Bills want to see. We saw you're going to get that from Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens, just running the ball consistently down your throat. But this has been an issue for the Bills for quite a while. We know they're smallish up front, especially at the linebacker spot. The defense is really banged up out on the outside too. I don't like their safeties. They're not hard hitters, not great in run support. And really their best defensive player, Ed Oliver, yesterday he was seen in a walking boot on a scooter playing ping pong, not on the court, not on the practice field. Big loss in case he doesn't play. I got to figure you're in a walking boot. It's going to be tough to get out there and start making plays against a team that is committed to rushing the football. When we're talking about the New York Jets and thinking about where they were last week, didn't run for, they ran for 4.7 yards, but it was, again, the commitment. We talked about the balance, Pritch, earlier with Jacksonville. Well, it was 22 pass selections, 22 pass attempts for Justin Fields, 39 rushing attempts for the Jets. I think we're starting to see in pieces, parts. We saw it with Philadelphia, and it led to a Super Bowl win, this kind of shift from offensive thinking of spread them all out and we'll be quicker and faster and put your defense on their heels and on skates. A lot of nickel coverage and a lot of smaller linebackers. Well, now teams are starting to say, well, you're smaller on that defensive side. Let's start committing up front and pounding the football at you guys because you don't have the personnel to stop it, Pritch. And here, this is just a tough matchup for that Bills defense, minus Ed Oliver in particular, having to go up a team in the New York Jets that is committed to rushing the football.
Right. It's a tough matchup in important areas. And that's the trenches, really. And Buffalo would rather play that finesse game. They want to let Josh Allen kind of run the football when he wants to and kind of improvise there, too, with their spread offense. But no, I agree with you, what you said, Brady, about Aaron Glenn played against the guy, and he's a highly fierce competitor. But what he's done, too, is showed the Jets how important it is to be physical. And that's what the Jets were against Pittsburgh. They shocked the Steelers, right, with that running game. We're thinking that the Steelers and their vaulted defense can certainly contend with a running game. They couldn't. And the last time I looked, Derrick Henry is still running against the Buffalo Bills. So, no, I like this from a point situation and the juice that Glenn has created, too. And Fields was highly efficient, only throwing the ball that many times, under 60 plays total. As an offense, highly efficient because they can run the football. And that is a tough matchup for Buffalo. I like that situation with the Jets.
Yeah, I think it'll be a very competitive AFC East divisional matchup. We'll get to a couple more here in the next segment, and then we dive into Survivor, Circa Survivor and SuperBook Survivor. Not a lot of carnage in week 1. We're back with more on the other side of the Las Vegas Football Contest show.
Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub, invites you to play the best keno and video poker in Las Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars with ongoing promotions, daily free play, bonuses, and more. With a chance to win Knights, Raiders, Aviators tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only great gaming at Steiner's, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and the best appetizers to match. Steiner's, the Nevada-style pub, with 3 locations across the Vegas Valley. Steiner's, I love this place.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are at home, their home opener, with Aaron Rodgers fresh off of 4 touchdown passes in a victory over his former team, the New York Jets. They will welcome the Seattle Seahawks to town in off of a last-minute defeat at the hands of the San Francisco 49ers. DK Metcalf will be at home waiting for his former team to show up, and the Steelers opened as 2.5-point favorites and then moved to a 3. And that's where we are in both Circa Million and the Westgate SuperContest. Steelers in their home opener, Mike, favored by a field goal.
Yeah, I get this question repeatedly as a former player, and it's a travel question, right? When you kind of try to figure out, okay, I like the Seattle Seahawks, but I'm worried about the travel. It's cross country and all this time zones and everything. So this situation is interesting to me because just reading and kind of understanding what's going on with the Steelers, they're concerned about stopping a run. And for Seattle, they need to run the football. And we just talked about that earlier in the show in terms of what the NFL is turning into. I mean, we're going back to the 90s a little bit with the style of play. Because of all the nickel defenses out there and all the specialty players that are out on the field, situational players as well. But if you can line up, put your hand on the dirt, and come off the ball and get after it, you make the game easy to play. And I think from a Seattle Seahawks standpoint, a young football team, a very young football team, but a team that's very active and very athletic, they can play those type of games. Now, an elder statesman situation with the Steelers. Think about Hayward being, having a rest day. TJ Watt at his point in his career is having a rest day during the week of practice. Can they just turn it up and be physical in the way that they need to be to stop the run? I mean, I got questions about that, fellas, right now. So, Aaron Rodgers, yeah, he turned back the clock, but he got up for that game against his former team. But there's the Steelers have some issues early on that I wonder if that's going to show up in this matchup, James.
Well, I think, fellas, I like the Seahawks getting the 3 here in the contest, and I can't imagine this is going to make the consensus. If anything, it's probably going to be further down the list at the bottom of who wants to actually take Seattle. What happened again? They can't finish at home. Sam Darnold finds a way to cough it up late in the game in the red zone. Typical Sam Darnold. And same old Seahawks, a lot of hype. And here we go, not going to be able to make the ball club and contend in the NFC West. And here's the Steelers. Now they're rejuvenated and Aaron Rodgers out there slinging the football around. But you know what? Aaron Rodgers got tagged last week. That offensive line was pretty soft up front. The Jets got in there, and not only did they put the quarterback on the ground, they put him down hard. So it's going to be a lengthy recovery for Aaron Rodgers getting back off the mat, even though they won that football game, and he was excited to have that win under his belt against his former team. You mentioned the concerns in the run game, or the run defense for that matter, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, their box safety, he was their second leading tackler from a year ago. Tremendous tackler, box safety, Deshaun Elliott, out. He's got an MCL. He is not going to play in this game. Their top draft pick that was supposed to fortify that defensive line with some youth. Derek Harmon's still not going to see the field. And then their corner, Joey Porter, he's not going to play in this game. I suspect he won't. He was a DNP, did not practice the last 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, with a hamstring injury. Just feels like this is, in a sense, I know it's the home opener for the Steelers, but we're reacting to what we saw last week, and wow, the Steelers look great, and same old Seahawks. Give me the other side. I like the Seahawks plus the 3, Brady.
James, I'm with you. I think it's a nice contrarian move, and you bring up a lot of great points about some of the injuries that the Pittsburgh Steelers suffered in that Week 1 victory over New York. Let's talk about the Detroit Lions. They didn't look anything like the Detroit Lions of 2024 in Week 1. They have a second straight division game. Their home opener, they welcome the Chicago Bears to town, and they are laying 5.5 in Circa Million and 6 points in the SuperContest. James, we went on the Lions last week. It didn't work out. We thought that rushing attack would be something. It wasn't really there for Detroit.
Well, we're missing the coach. And as far as the coach, we're talking about the offensive coordinator, the former offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, now the head coach there in Chicago. And I think you saw the frustration with Ben Johnson last week on Monday Night Football with Caleb Williams, putting the young quarterback in position. There were throws to be had and throws to be made, and he either missed those throws or didn't even see those throws. But they've had the full week to look at game film and be able to come back into this matchup here into Detroit. And I know it's going to be a hungry Detroit team on that side that wants to get after it and redeem themselves and not go 0-2 to start the season. But I really like the coordinator with Ben Johnson coming back, knowing that personnel, and now as the offensive coach or the head coach there for the Chicago Bears, Pritch. And almost sounds like another contrarian play down the list as far as consensus plays go. I like the Bears, especially +6 in the SuperContest.
Yeah, the Bears learn a valuable lesson. Take care of business when you get turnovers and you get favorable field position, and they didn't do that last week, and it cost them a football game. So, yeah, I'm one to think that the Bears are going to learn from a lot of their mistakes in that opening matchup there and kind of redeem themselves against the Lions here.
All right, very good. We shift gears here and turn our attention to Survivor contest. Circa Survivor, the SuperBook Survivor. We'll come back and see who we like this week just to win outright.
San Diego is home to Wolfpack Hospitality Restaurants, located in beautiful La Jolla. Stop by Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria on your next trip. Visit Cove House, a top 100 brunch in California, or Shore Rider, serving up margaritas, fish tacos, and a vibe that will make you feel like a regular in no time. For a slice of New York-style pizza with a California twist, it's Dough Mama Pizzeria, where the wings and pizza draw compliments from around the world. Go to wolfpackhospitality.com, and we will look forward to seeing you at Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria.
Welcome back into the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas SuperBook. Check us out at footballcontestshow.com. All the information there where you can find us, podcast, YouTube, you name it. Our picks are up there too. You can check the results, our selections, and of course, our fine sponsors that help put this show on for you each and every week. That's footballcontestshow.com. Survivor. We shift gears to Survivor. A very easy week for a lot of people. 573 eliminated in Circa Survivor. Nobody eliminated in Super Survivor or Grandissimo. So what do we do with week 2, gentlemen? It looks like the Baltimore Ravens will be the most popular pick on the board. They're an 11 or 12-point favorite in division, coming off of that heartbreaking loss to Buffalo. They take on the Cleveland Browns. But Mike, I think Arizona is an interesting team at home, and maybe Carolina, maybe the Panthers are becoming a team to pick on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the season develops. I'm the one to think right now that, it's really a big middle of the pack situation. We all know the elite teams, at least the perception, but injuries can happen and things can happen during the course of the season. But for the most part, everybody's pretty even in the National Football League, and that's how we like it. I mean, I think from a competitive situation. So getting to the Survivor element, I got to tell you a quick story. When I first met the great Larry Fitzgerald, it was out here in Vegas. He was with his agent. I met him. I looked at him. I'm like, "You're a receiver?" I could not comprehend that a guy that big. He's Shannon Sharp, really. I mean, when I had a locker right next to Shannon, and that was a tight end. In my day. Now, Larry Fitzgerald is a wide receiver and a Hall of Famer, and the guy is humongous, right? Trevor Lawrence, another guy. But now you look at these two quarterbacks, and I'm like, wait a minute. When did quarterbacks become 5'9" and 200 pounds, right? Or in Young's case, I mean, what is he, 180 pounds tops? But this matchup is intriguing to me when you have these type of quarterbacks and what they're capable of. I gotta side with Kyler here. One of the things I liked and paid attention to in the offseason was that Kyler, who is not a likable person, I'll take that all the way back from when he was recruited out of high school. He's not a pleasant individual, but he started to gravitate and try to develop friendships within that locker room or relationships, be more personable and be a leader, right? And that started to emanate out of that locker room. And certainly some of the reports had that happening. And I like that. I really do. Whereas, you look at the Panthers, they're still a work in progress. I still don't think that they believe in their quarterback situation, that he's too damn small, and he is. So I think there's an opportunity for the Cardinals. I would rather play the Cardinals and all these maybe under the radar expectations that they have early in the year than later on in the year. when things become normal or things become familiar as they start to lose or guys get hurt. Who knows? But at the beginning of the year, there's optimism and certainly a belief in their quarterback and a home opener too. So from a Survivor standpoint, I like the Cardinals here, guys, in this matchup against Carolina.
Looking at the schedule, that's what we have to look. We talked about it last week through the Survivor, and if you're looking at the Cardinals, and we knew quite a few folks took the Cardinals last week, so that's not going to be on there, not going to be available for them. But if you like the Cardinals, where else would you might like the Cardinals down the road in the schedule? And I think the only other spot that I can see for the Cardinals would be in week 5, where they're going to host the Tennessee Titans, and rookie quarterback and really a shaky coaching staff. We talked about that a couple segments ago with the Titans. And that's going to be a game where they're going to have extra rest to prepare, because they are going to be hosting Seattle, a divisional foe, this Thursday before. So they'll have a full 10 days to rest, prepare, and take on the Titans, as opposed to this matchup here with Carolina. Now, the better team. I'm not interested in either quarterback. I think it's really with Kyler Murray, Brady, it's because that rushing game, and this is a team that is going to commit to rushing the football with Connor and with Benson up front and trying to be more physical at the point of attack. And we saw how that worked out for that Carolina defense with the same mindset with Jacksonville last weekend, running the football all over that defense. So in that sense, I like the Cardinals in this spot. Obviously, I don't want anything to do with the Carolina Panthers, but there might be a better spot down the road this season for the Cardinals as far as Survivor is concerned, Brady.
Yeah, that's really a lot about what Survivor's all about, finding that best spot available for this team. And, last week we were on the Jaguars and the Rams, and that looked like, obviously they won, but we're not sure if there's a better spot later on down the road for those teams. The Rams do have one really attractive spot that we like. I think another game, you don't have a lot of big favorites this week. You've got the Cowboys, you've got the Lions. We talked about both of those games. The Ravens, of course, I'm sure will be very popular. It feels safe, a big spread there, 11, 12 points. The Vikings are also interesting. They come back. J.J. McCarthy finds his stride, starts to really click in the fourth quarter, and they come back to beat the Bears. They looked impressive doing so. Kevin O'Connell continues to show that he is a really good coach in this league. And I think conversely, Raheem Morris continues to be questionable. They should have beaten the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 1. A lot of people would have been happy with that. That was an extremely popular pick against the spread. And now here they are on Sunday Night Football. So I'm not ready to just completely throw Atlanta to the Wolves, James, because they disappointed in week 1. And I'm not exactly sure what to think of Minnesota either, because McCarthy was pretty awful in the first half against the Chicago Bears. But it feels like Minnesota finds a way to win this game in their home opener.
That's where I don't want to be reactionary. Everybody saw what happened on Monday night as the only game on the board and on TV that night. So you sit there and all eyes on it, and you see a contrast the two halves. I think what really helped out McCarthy, he's got some mental toughness for sure, but it was more so the commitment to getting back and rushing the football for the Minnesota Vikings. And that's really what got them settled in the second half, especially after that pick 6. So credit to J.J. McCarthy. After that pick 6, they fall behind by 2 big scores, and he could have completely melted down there. But to credit for O'Connell to keep him focused and to shift the game plan to make sure they were going to rush, not panic, and start slinging the ball all over to try to come back quickly, rush the football, grind some clock down, and control the ball and control the line of scrimmage and get him in more third and manageable place for the young quarterback. But in this matchup here, thinking about the other side being reactionary and Atlanta doing same Atlanta things with Raheem Morris, you mentioned that, Brady, with the coaching mismatch. It just feels concerning to me when you have Atlanta and how poorly they played and butchered the game again, couldn't make field goals, bad kicking performance again from their place kicker. But going into this side, there's a couple injuries that concern me, and it's at the linebacking core for the Minnesota Vikings, Pritch, and they lost Blake Cashman to a hamstring injury in that game, and Van Ginkel is probably not going to play as in practice for the last 2 days with a concussion. Those are 2 key players for all the different pressure fronts that we like to see out of Flores and that defensive side. Missing those 2 guys there, it is a significant drop off from the linebacker spot from those starters to those backups, Pritch. This game's a no play for me.
Yeah, the injuries are concerning too. What Brady alluded to, though, and what you talked about as well, the fact that you can adjust your game plan really plays in your favor. And that's the coaching acumen of McConnell there. So, McCarthy settling in with the running game, the compliment right there. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was tremendous. But to be able to adjust along the way and have answers to some questions that developed during a matchup, I mean, that is something telling. I'm shocked that Atlanta did not release Koo because he was shaky last year. And so think about that field goal. I mean, he pulls the first one before the timeout, and then he pushes the other one. And I don't know what kind of confidence at this point, along with the coaching decisions, Brady, that you have. And you're going to need a field goal kicker on the road if you're Atlanta. So, I mean, the matchup from a Survivor standpoint is a tough place to play. It favors the Vikings big time, but there is some injury concerns there too. And it's so early in the year that even though we like these home favorite situations, some of them kind of get, you don't have that much confidence with them. But no, that is an attractive situation just from the development of McCarthy in that game, but then certainly the adjustments that Minnesota can get to as well.
We've got a Monday night doubleheader, and I wonder how many people will land on the Los Angeles Chargers, a road favorite here in Las Vegas, laying 3.5 points at the Raiders. Of course, they have a huge rest advantage in this game. Talk about coaching. Jim Harbaugh, a pretty good one, goes down to Brazil and takes out the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 1. Stick around. More of the Las Vegas Football Contest show coming right up.
When the football contest crew isn't busy dominating the field and making plays that leave opponents in the dust, they're doing something just as exciting. They're playing My Vegas Slots. It's a top-ranked, free-to-play mobile app that lets you earn valuable real-world rewards from amazing partners like MGM Grand, Bellagio, and Norwegian Cruise Line. You can score hotel stays, great meals, show tickets, and more just for playing. Download My Vegas Slots today from your favorite app store. And if you're anything like Brady, James, and Mike, we know you're going to love it. That's a winning play you won't want to miss.
Want to gamble like the pros? At LasVegasAdvisor.com, you'll find the world's best how-to books, software, and strategy cards featuring blackjack, poker, video poker, and of course, sports betting, including the Stanford Wong Classic Sharp Sports Betting. Don't forget LVA's Member Rewards coupon book, offering discounts on dining and entertainment, including a buy one, get one for the awesome lobster buffet at the Palms, and more than $700 in gambling-free play, match play, and bonus offers. Up your gambling game today at LasVegasAdvisor.com.
Welcome back into the Las Vegas Football Contest show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas SuperBook. Mike Pritchard, James Salinas, and myself, Brady Kannon, for Week 2 of the NFL campaign. It looks like kind of slim pickings for Survivor this week. I wonder how many road favorites we'll see on the board. Out of 18,000 plus selections in Circa Survivor, you got to believe there are going to be some road favorites on that card. Let's get back to the against the spread perspective, and I think a very interesting game for the Indianapolis Colts, who really put it on the Miami Dolphins in Week 1. Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren, the rookie tight end, everything looked good in Indianapolis. And it was a little bit shaky in Denver, but the Broncos held on, nearly covered the spread in the end in beating the Tennessee Titans by 8 points. They will take their show on the road. And James, they're a slight road favorite here. I've seen anywhere from a 1-point favorite to a pick'em here in the contest at Circa, all the way up to 2.5 or 3-point favorites. It's really kind of danced around between pick'em and less than a field goal all week long in favor of Denver.
Talk about Survivor. The Broncos narrowly survived that game last week. And in spite of some of the arrogant play calling that we saw out of Sean Payton, he tends to do that. And some of the gunsling, just risk taking for Bo Nix. Bo Nix is coming in. He's not playing the pass line. That dude's rolling hard. He's betting hard fours and pressing everything when he gets to the craps table. This guy's throwing the ball, going to his left, across his body, got picked. He had 2 interceptions last week. That's the 5th time in 18 starts in his young career where he's had multiple interceptions in a game. Fortunately, they were able to get by with it because Tennessee couldn't move the ball and their receivers couldn't catch the football. And then conversely, on the other side with the Colts, now granted, they were playing the flag football team defense known as the Miami Dolphins, but the Colts scored 7. They scored on all 7 possessions in that game last week. And it's still the National Football League. And to be able to go and score on all 7 possessions, yes, the Miami defense is not a good defense. And they're definitely not cadet. There's definitely a fractured locker room between with not only with amongst players, but also with the coaching staff. But you go and score 7 times on each one of your possessions in a game, you're executing. And I think with Daniel Jones, say what you want. I mean, he played they really played a flawless game offensively. That the offensive line has gotten younger, and I think they've gotten better. You know, they've had a really stout offensive line for a long time, but it wasn't just matter of fact, just rushing the football with Taylor. Now you've got some speed on the outside. You've got some size on the outside. Denver has historically over the last X amount of years really struggled covering tight ends. And I like the Colts here. I know it's basically a coin flip game. You can say it's a home dog, but really I feel like it's just a coin flip game, whether it's 1 or pick 'em, whatever that number is, Brady, that you were saying. I like the Colts here in this spot. I look for some more issues from Knicks on that offense, not being able to keep up. This is going to be an interesting game. I do like the Colts here on this side.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the defensive matchups too, I mean, Anarumo now is with the Colts, and he's I think is going to make an impact over what Gus Bradley was before. I mean, they were so predictable and really relied on pass rush, right, over the years. But now scheme comes into it, tendencies comes into it too. So I think that could get tough for Bo Nix if they are trying to create a different narrative, him and Sean Payton, in terms of his inaccuracy down the field and vertically. Can they challenge teams with their players? And I wonder about that. I wonder if that narrative takes over a little bit and they play outside the box. And they don't play the way that they need to play to win. 2 good defenses though too. But I mean, Daniel Jones or Shane Steichen, he's a decent play caller. And now he really has a quarterback. I mean, I can't tell you how bad. Well, I can tell you how bad Anthony Richardson was last year, but it's a breath of fresh air right now if you're Shane Steichen with Daniel Jones. So a competent bunch too offensively in that matchup. But yeah, I'd be intrigued to see what the opinion or consensus will be in this matchup, guys. This is an interesting one. The Colts, they're one of my outlier teams too. That I had going into the season. I just need Daniel Jones to be anywhere close to an Alex Smith type of quarterback, and I think the Colts can have a successful year.
Yeah, you were in the minority there calling out the Colts as a team to possibly look out for. A lot of people bet under their season win total. Off to a bad start there with them getting a victory in week 1, no problem, against the Miami Dolphins. And speaking of an interesting game, we've got one here in Kansas City, Arrowhead Stadium, the Chiefs, their home opener, and a rematch of last year's Super Bowl, trying to get some revenge over those Philadelphia Eagles who beat them in the Super Bowl last year. And an odd situation for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, a small underdog at home. Mike, I think this one's really hard to figure out. I mean, what's the psychology coming in for either team? Who's the better team? You know, the Chiefs as a home dog. A lot of storylines going on here, and I'm not sure which direction I want to go.
Yeah, I'm right there with you because, how do you break this game down so early? Do you really go off to Super Bowl? Can you really do that? You can. I mean, I think the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're still going to do what they do, and that's Patrick Mahomes offensively. They don't have a running game. I mean, they have the wrong running back starting. In my opinion, I think Kareem Hunt should be the starter. Pacheco should be the change of pace guy, but they switch it for whatever reason. Maybe they'll figure that out. And then there's questions about the offensive line still, and then defensively. They're relying on youth and certainly go back a few years when the youth helped them win a Super Bowl. But they have to replace some really, really good players, in particular in the back end there, and some key positions too. So the the Chiefs have played a lot of football, similar to the Eagles. But the thing about this matchup to me, guys, is the Eagles have a new offense coordinator, as we know. Kellen Moore has moved on to head coaching position. They got shut out pretty much in that second half against Dallas, only scored 3 points. And so from a familiarity standpoint, and Jalen played well, and certainly I think they got to get the running game revved up. But if you can stop and neutralize a running game like Dallas did, then you have to rely on Hurts a little bit more. And if it gets into that situation where you got to throw the football, who are you going to side with? I mean, do you side with Kansas City at home with Mahomes, or do you side with Hurts in that passing game on the road in that hostile environment? So that's where it gets tricky for me, because I think on paper, man, how did the Eagles lose this game? But the line is where it's at for a reason, and therefore I got to respect that.
Yeah, the Eagles, I think Jalen Hurts was incredibly impressive in week one in their win over the Dallas Cowboys. Just looked like the leader that we know he is, a championship type player. But other than that, I had questions about the Eagles. Now, Carter will be back after the incident with Dak Prescott before the game. That's a big piece of that defense. But I thought, that defense gave up 24 points. Dak Prescott and company put some points on those Philadelphia Eagles. It'll be interesting what Patrick Mahomes and company can do in week 2. We wrap up the program next, right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Las Vegas isn't just a place to play, it's a great place to live. Louis Payon with Magenta Real Estate is a trusted 5-star real estate professional who's called Vegas home for over 3 decades. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, Louis will guide you every step of the way with proven strategies that deliver results. Call Louis today at 702-849-7160. That's 702-849-7160. Louis Payon is the official realtor of the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
We have reached that point of the program where we release our contest selections, and we will start with both Circa Million and the Westgate SuperContest. We have 5 of the same identical selections in each contest as we did last week. We are going to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars for the second straight week. We are on the Jaguars. Instead of laying 3.5 this week, they're getting 3.5 in both contests. We'll take them over Cincinnati. We'll take the Chicago Bears. They're getting 6 in the Super Contest. They're getting 5.5 on the road at Detroit in the Circa Million. We'll take the home dog, the New York Jets, getting 6.5 from the Buffalo Bills in both Circa Million and the Super Contest. And then we'll take the Seattle Seahawks on the road at Pittsburgh, getting 3 points in both contests. And then finally, a little discrepancy here in the point spread. We'll take the Indianapolis Colts, who are getting a point in the Super Contest and a pick'em in the Circa Million. So pretty much all dogs on the card in week 2 for the crew, but we've got a couple of favorites in Circa Survivor. We will go with the Dallas Cowboys to get a win in their home opener over the New York Giants, and we will also take the Arizona Cardinals to get a win in their home opener over the Carolina Panthers. James, we talked about it in our show prep. Sometimes it makes me nervous to be on all dogs or all favorites, but at the end of the day, these picks all feel a little bit contrarian.
Well, and that's the bigger piece for me with the contest. We've been doing contests for quite a while, staying away and not being in that top 5 consensus. We saw how they got top 5 consensus in both the Super Contest and Circa Millions got buried last week, 0-5 in both. And we were 2-3 in the 2 that we had. That one, obviously, we're not in the consensus plays. And I think with these 5 here, that wasn't the approach to say, well, which ones are going to be at the bottom of it, and we're going to take those. We're not getting in that deep into game theory here in the contest season in week 2. But I think that's where we start to more so. I think Pritch and Brady, this was more thinking about looking at the matchups, offensive line, defensive line, personnel, injuries, those types of things, but also trying not to be overreactionary and thinking, well, we're going to jump on what we saw last, and this team looked great, and this team looked terrible. It's staying away from that, trying to be open-minded and not as biased from what we saw last week. It's more really matchups and personnel as well as coaching. We saw how much coaching mattered last week in a number of games, Pritch, and I think that's kind of where we landed with these 5, feeling like we're in a good spot with not taking any big dogs trying to just cover, but these are dogs that have the potential, maybe not the Bears from that standpoint, but dogs that have the potential, Pritch, to win the game outright.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I love the upside situation in terms of the dogs that we selected, and from a coaching standpoint, from the sidelines and then even on the field from the matchups. But each and every one of these dogs that we selected here this week, they do have upside, room for improvement. Again, like for instance, Caleb Williams. Once he sees all the plays that are out there with this offense, And I'll have to hand it to Flores and disguising things and maybe making him a little hesitant. But there's upside with Williams in his offense, right? And I think maybe that shows up this week. And then there's upside certainly with Seattle. There's upside with Jacksonville too. So yeah, I'm highly intrigued with the matchups that we talked about through the course of the show. But then just from a dog situation, the upside that presents itself as well.
We are high on former Detroit Lion assistant coaches this week, gentlemen. We're backing Bill Johnson, and we're backing the head coach of the New York Jets, Aaron Glenn.
Aaron Glenn.
It seems like he really learned a lot, and he improved. We remember his first year as defensive coordinator. He was not impressive at all. It seems like he really learned a lot about the culture that Dan Campbell kind of installed there in Detroit. And he brought that to New York, James. I mean, he has a toughness and a physicality that he brought to the table.
Well, and a lot of times teams kind of take on the persona of their coach and their personality. And I think that's what he's trying to instill is the toughness, the physicality. Pritch, you've talked about it. You played against Aaron Glenn and the fire that he would bring, the physicality that he would bring. I think that's what coaches are hoping for, especially if you're a coach coming into a situation like the Jets, a really dysfunctional franchise from top, starting with the ownership on down and having to reset. And those things take time. Well, he definitely made an impact last week in a big game, even though in a loss against a team that knows itself and has an identity as far as the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pritch, I was like you, Brady. I was pretty impressed with how the Jets performed last week.
All right, here we go again. We're on the Jaguars, the Bears, the Jets, the Colts, and the Seattle Seahawks, the Cowboys, and the Cardinals in Survivor. We'll be back with more next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. Good luck with your picks. This is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Thanks for tuning in to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Don't you just love football? God, what a fun sport.
Subscribe today on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts to receive weekly alerts as soon as the show's available. Good luck with your contest selections.
Pay that man his money.
And we'll talk to you next week.